Most biohackers can fast for 72 hours or wear a CGM for fun, but ask them to make small talk at a barbecue, complete system failure. We're going to sort that out today. This is Biohacking News. Hello and welcome to Biohacking News. Today it's a special summer episode, less wearables and more, well, wiring our brain a little bit different. I've got a legendary journalist on with me. Can I call you a legendary journalist, Jenny Valentish?
Yes, please. I'd love you to do that.
Good. Well, lovely to have you here. Your new book is a field guide for introverts, awkwards, stand-offish, and anyone who's ever felt socially overloaded. And well, I feel very honoured because I'm in it.
You are, yes. You're in a chapter about NLP, and it was absolutely fascinating what I could learn from that.
I know. I did slightly worry after we'd done the interview, and I thought, am I going to get stitched up here? But you haven't stitched me up, and the book is absolutely brilliant. And thanks for the coffee. Well, look, we'll get onto that in just a second. Before that, explain why you wrote the book and this whole concept of extroverts and introverts, and why I think a lot of people will think, oh yeah, I feel socially overloaded quite a lot.
Yes, okay. Well, I'm a card-carrying introvert. All my family are, actually. I mean, we did the Myers-Briggs test. We all came out introverts of different kind of persuasions. And my favorite definition for introvert actually would be the idea that you have a social battery, and introverts' social battery is drained when they're around other people. They recharge on their own, as opposed to extroverts who are charged in the company of people. The more people, the better. And it was really obvious in me from an early age. So my mum would, when I was a toddler, try and put aside quality time to spend with me, and I just wouldn't be interested. I'd just be wanting to go back into my own world. I'm one of those kids who was always like, reading books like this, and just in their own world, which was great. Except introversion can overlap with social anxiety, neuroticism, and more so than with extroverts. So you're not necessarily going to experience social anxiety, but you're more likely to. And so I used to fix that by drinking an awful lot. I used to preload with alcohol even before meeting friends, just because I'd get really kind of restless at having to sit still opposite someone for long periods of time without a prop, without a drink, without a cigarette. And so that was my kind of coping mechanism for a long time. And then I gave up drinking for about 8 years. So I had to come up with other things. And I actually came up with a whole bunch of different kind of exercises to either like push my tolerance or develop more sort of empathy and put myself in other people's shoes more. So I wasn't just in my own kind of bubble of fear of judgment, say, and scrutiny. So I've put all these exercises together in this book, and there's a lot of memoir blending it together, and a few kind of guest people like yourself who come in and add their expertise. And the idea is it's kind of like an antisocial self-help book, and so I hope it will appeal to people who don't like being talked down to, and generally might not go down the self-help route. That's the idea.
Yeah. Well, knowing your writing style and your sort of social media style, it's a lot of fun, as well as being a great guide for people. Now, I can hear a slight beeping in the background, so I'm just going to pause for 1 second.
I can't.
Can you hear that?
No, hang on. No.
Can you hear that?
No.
That's really bizarre. I'm going to unplug.
I can't hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you figure it out?
No, I can hear a beeping. I'm going to just try and close all my other windows. It's not awful. and we can definitely use what we've got, but I'd rather.
Yeah. I can't hear a thing. There's a slight lag, but that's maybe just our distance. I'm closing my windows too.
Have you got your phone near the computer?
Yes. I'll put it on airplane.
That'd be great.
It shouldn't be beeping though, should it? There we go.
No, I can still hear it. Okay,
Let
me try one more thing. It's what it sounds like is some sort of connection somewhere. Would you be able to just try and unplug your headphones and plug them back in?
Yep.
Thanks. Are they in? Okay, I think I need to unmute. You might need to unmute your mic.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I did that. Can you still hear it?
I can, but it stopped when you unplugged it, so it's definitely coming from you, but I don't know why.
And you definitely.
Is your laptop plugged in with the power?
Yeah. Yeah.
Could we try? Have you got enough power if we unplug the power lead?
Actually, it's supposed to be plugged in, but it wasn't properly. Maybe we will.
Oh, okay. Well, that's.
So that's not that.
Yeah.
And you definitely need me to wear the headphones, don't you? Yeah. I've got earbuds, like Apple ones.
Yeah. Should we try them?
Okay. Yeah. Hang on. Can you try talking?
Hello.
Can you hear me? No.
Yeah.
You can hear me?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, good.
Yeah.
All right.
It wasn't the headphones. It was just something. No, I'll reference it. It's fine. Okay. Yeah.
All right. You can talk about how untech I am.
No, to be honest, that the sound was really nice on those headphones. It was just making a slight noise. So
yeah, okay.
Okay. Right, should we carry on?
Yeah, carry on.
Good, excellent. Okay. Right, we should just tell people we just paused for a second to sort out. There was a sort of slight beeping sound in the background. I thought it was one of your newfangled methods of dealing with social anxiety.
It's trying to drown you out, so yeah.
Yeah, but you've put your earpods in instead, and that's gone now. So great. Now, what I wanted to ask you about this concept of sort of battery life. Because I feel that this might turn into a bit of a personal therapy session, this interview, but I really resonate with that. Yeah. And I've always thought of myself as a massive extrovert until I stopped drinking so much. And then I feel absolutely exhausted now after social interactions, and I never used to. Is that what you're referring to?
So it turns out you were just a drunk introvert. That's what it was.
Exactly.
Yeah. The more people, the more bodies in the pile up, the harder it is, because introverts tend to be overthinkers. So we're always trying to second guess what somebody's thinking. And with one person, talking to another, that's kind of doable. But the more people you add, the more exhausting that gets. And you get crosstalks, and you get backgrounds kind of noise and weird ambience, and it can really wear us out very quickly. So whenever I go into an event or someone's party or whatever, I'm probably casing the joint to see where the nearest toilet is, so I know where to escape to.
Yeah.
Or somewhere like that. It was easier back when we smoked, and you had this kind of legit reason to break away from the crowd and have a little bonding time one-to-one with somebody. But yeah, these days it's become a lot harder. Also, I think that because because you are an interviewer and you started out on radio and you have your podcasts, you found a way of communicating that is one where you're very much in control and you've got a role and you know what you're doing. And so you understand all the variables, and interviewing someone's quite like a dance. It's like a choreography. So even if someone makes some crazy move, you know by now how to get back into control again of that conversation. So it can actually be really appealing to introverts, but to the outside world, someone who's on the radio all the time or is a podcaster, people might just assume that's an extrovert because they're putting themselves out there.
Yeah. And I think there was this episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm years ago where they talked about the concept of being a good middle. When if you're like sort of if you're quite extroverted and you're great at conversation, you'll be put in the middle of a dinner party table. And if you're
I know
not a
that
good middle,
scene.
you'll be put on the. It's so good, isn't it? It's just brilliant.
I actually nearly put it in the book, but it was getting a bit too convoluted trying to explain it to people. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
it's so brilliant, that scene, isn't it? Because there are some
Yeah,
people that are just great middles, and I think I'm seen as a good middle, but it does knacker me out, and
yeah,
it's a bit like you, really. It's only sort of giving up the booze that I've realised. Oh, maybe I'm not as extroverted as I thought. But then there was, I mean, we were down at the beach last week, and somebody pulled out this personality test, and we all did this personality test. It took about 2 minutes. It fill out a load of things, and then it told you stuff about yourself. And on the "Are you extrovert" scale, I scored 5 out of 5. But I thought that was a little bit simplistic because yes, I love meeting new people, and yes, I love social interactions. But then I don't need to go and sit in a dark room for 5 hours and draw the curtains.
yeah. Maybe you're a tired extrovert. I don't know. You could be a subgenre, but it's yeah. It's. I think if we have a role, it does make it so much easier for us, and also identifying our window of tolerance. So
Mm,
for me, interviewing someone one to one, I can easily do that for an hour and keep my energy up and look really engaged and be really engaged. Whereas sort of sitting with a group, having coffee or something, I've only got about 5 minutes in me. So it's kind of recognizing what our
mm.
kryptonite is and how long we can stand something, and then subbing in things that are easier. So if I find it draining sitting face to face with someone for a long period of time, why don't
Mm.
I just get on the front foot and invite that person out for a shoulder to shoulder activity, which could be something like going to a gallery, playing pool, going for a walk,
Yeah.
driving, yeah, anything, going to a gig, anything,
Yeah.
where you're experiencing it together rather than this very intense face to face, which I find difficult.
That's so interesting. And I think there's something good because I don't drink very much. I actually said to my wife last weekend after we went out on that Friday night, we were sort of all sitting around for a few hours. And I said, my ideal social activity is going on a 10-hour hike with best mates rather than
Yeah,
sitting in the pub for 10. I don't find that knackering at all if we can chat. But as you say, shoulder to shoulder. And there's something, I mean, one of the things about NLP is about, um, just it's simple body language thing, really. But, when you go on a date and you sit opposite somebody, it's sort of quite intense because it's quite confrontational, isn't it? But if you rearrange the
yeah.
chairs so you're sitting at a 45-degree angle, it's
Oh
much
my
better
god.
because you're looking out on the world. And again, it's shoulder to shoulder, as you say.
Oh, I didn't know that was NLP. I am all about the angles. I mean, I did a little Instagram funny video as well about just angling yourself away at 45 degrees just kind of
Yeah.
takes the pressure off somebody who's really socially anxious. And if I was when I used to work in offices, if someone stopped me for conversation, I would find myself automatically kind of like pointing towards the door. So if you can do
Yeah.
that more subtly, then it's just one of those little tweaks and hacks that can help things run more smoothly. I reckon maybe a lot of biohacking people would potentially be socially anxious or introverts because, again, it's that kind of desire to control a scenario, optimize yourself, be in control of that. Um, and I think introverts really do find it hard to not know the parameters of any given
Mm.
situation and not know what's coming. So there could be some overlap there.
There's a definite reason that I got into NLP and biohacking, isn't there? They're all about control.
Yeah,
And they both tend to attract very left brain people who aren't very good at just trusting and letting go and it'll all be all right. They're desperately trying to control every aspect of their environment. And often the solution for both NLPs and biohackers is not NLP or biohacking. It's learning to, well, do the deep work, but then just to relax and just let
Yeah.
go. But that's bloody hard, basically.
Well, yeah, and it's funny you say, doing the hard work, because I was reading today in The Guardian about how people are using things like ChatGPT to
Mm.
pen their most personal messages, like a even just a short message of condolences to someone.
Mm.
And I was thinking, this is so. I don't use ChatGPT or AI at all. I'm just one of those people out of principle who doesn't do it. But I'm so tempted to use it just for this purpose, to know the right thing to say to people at all times, because it doesn't come naturally to me. And to look at the examples in The Guardian of things that ChatGPT came up with for people to express to someone who's lost someone, or to express to someone
Mm.
who's gutted about something, I was like, yes, that's perfect. And I wouldn't be able to do that. And it's not because I don't care about the person. I mean, my own
Yeah.
partner is he's just had a hip operation, and I
Oh,
went to
yeah.
see
How's he
him as
getting
he
on? Is
came
he
out of
okay?
yeah, he was in a lot of pain, and he came out of the anesthetic, and he was really uncharacteristically down and depressed and worried. And I couldn't think of the right things to say at all. And then later I saw the Guardian article, and I thought, he uses ChatGPT, would he really mind if I used it to come up with the right thing to say? Because he knows I love him, but it doesn't mean you can express yourself that well.
Yeah. So you don't use AI at all?
No, because being a journalist, an author who also is a writing teacher, I'm just seeing it creeping into people's work more and more, and
Yeah.
it's a slippery slope. I'm fully aware as well that you cannot be resistant to change, and you have to move with the times.
Mm.
Um, so I guess I'm trying to figure out ways in which I might like to use it, as the one I've just described, but I don't want to be using it for constant shortcuts. It's like, we use the GPS all the time, and we've forgotten how to use our own sense of
Yeah.
natural bearings. Yeah, we are becoming a bit thicker.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's absolutely right. And yet, uh, it's quite interesting because I, as well as being an author as well, like you, I teach other people how to write their own books, but not only just writing, coming up with the idea and then publishing, indie publishing rather than traditional publishing, and marketing the books. And AI helps so much throughout the whole process. Not the writing,
Mm.
need to make that quite clear, not the writing, and in fact, there's a very generic AI house style now. And I feel like I can look at any Instagram post and I can tell when it's been
Mm.
when it's been written by ChatGPT. But everything else it is so helpful for. And I sort of feel like
Yeah.
your students might find that quite helpful.
Well, I'm not teaching them how to, write their press releases and come up
Mm.
with publishing plans. I'm literally teaching them how to, it's mainly memoir, like how to structure a piece, and how to use foreshadowing,
Mm.
and it wouldn't feel right at all to me to use AI to do that.
Yeah, yeah. What about, I mean, there seems to be increasing examples of people using ChatGPT as a therapist of sorts.
Yeah.
And I've tried it out because, I mean, because they remember a lot of information about you. So I've sort of said, with everything you know about me, what do you think I could work on? And sometimes it's pretty scary. But then, of course, as you say, the danger is that we forget, even if we're introverted, that it's more important to look into the eyes of actual humans than look at a chat GPT screen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand. I think that is quite tempting to go for the chat GPT therapist, actually, because they don't come with the complications that therapists do, which is
Yeah.
we forget they have their own lives and their own weird shit going on. And sometimes people drawn to that field are drawn to it because they're trying to figure things out and they really haven't. And so you can come across some sort of less than ideal actors. So maybe ChatGPT is a really legit way of
Yeah.
using therapy.
Yeah. Yeah. fairly terrifying. I want to talk to you about NLP in just a second, and my bit
Yeah,
in your book. I want to bring it all back to me.
of course.
Before that, I absolutely love the dedication at the start of the book, dedicated to all those I've blanked. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's I am a terrible blanker of people, but there's a few reasons really. I mean, it could be, you're on a mission, you've got other things going on in your head. You might have seen someone out of the corner of your eye in the supermarket or across the street, but the last thing you want to do is engage in a conversation that draws you out of whatever you were doing or thinking.
Yes.
And also, overthinkers then tend to second guess. Is it definitely blah blah? Or, oh God, what did I say to them last time? I can't remember. And then thirdly, often if we've met someone before and talked to them, we might be so intent on focusing on the logistics of the conversation. We might even be trying to employ some NLP and remembering their name and getting the right social etiquette, that we haven't actually kind of committed them and the conversation to memory. And so we've
Right.
practically
Yeah.
forgotten them, even though we might have had a really quick, intense conversation with them.
Yeah. And the whole sort of concept of social fatigue and sort of social battery, I think, is so interesting, and I think will really resonate. And this podcast started out as being about energy because I was really struggling with energy for a long time. And I just sort of think, is there any way that you can actually train your social battery to last a little bit longer? Is this, I mean, we've sort of talked about a few of the things, but what can we actually do to make it easier to sort of keep that energy going in a social interaction,
Mm.
apart from drinking?
Yeah, apart from drinking. I think knowing who's coming, who's going to be there is always helpful, because then you can think,
Mm,
okay, if I find it difficult um, floating around small talk with a big group of people, uh, I know blah blah is going to be there, and I can think about what conversation we had last time. Or, some people just seem to have a really comforting face. I don't know if you've
mm,
noticed that sometimes if I'm in a group of people talking, it might be even just be three people, and I've noticed shy people do this or introverted people do this. They'll often look at the most kind of comforting, comfortable in themselves person. And sometimes
mm.
you just have a person in the group who's got a face that's like a soft place to land. And so, you can gravitate towards people who make you feel that way. And definitely, if you can control where you meet and the kind of things you do, as mentioned before, the shoulder to shoulder kind of activities, that takes
Yeah,
the pressure off hugely. Things like board
yeah.
games, great.
That's really not. That is the secret, isn't it? But obviously, you can't tell someone, "Can you change your party destination?" And can we?
Oh yeah,
But yeah. I mean, here where we live here in Portugal, we have a swimming club that we meet every Wednesday on the beach, and we go
yeah,
for a swim, and then we have a coffee on the beach, and then we go home,
yeah,
and the whole thing takes
yeah.
hour and a half max, and it's fantastic. Because you're
Perfect.
swimming and chatting next to someone, and then you feel great getting out, and you're on the beach, you're having a coffee, and then you're off. And it's
Yeah, yeah,
always my favorite social interaction at the beach, because none of those issues that you feel and I feel as well occur when you're on the beach doing an activity like that.
yeah. Okay, well, I have got a tip for a party actually. I call it SUFO, show up, fuck off early. And that would be, it's just as it sounds. Okay, so let's say a party says it starts at 8 o'clock, and well, nobody shows up at 8 o'clock. You
Yeah,
do. You show up at 8 o'clock. It serves a few purposes.
yeah,
You get that one-to-one time in with whoever threw the party, and they'll appreciate that you were there, and they'll probably appreciate also that people are coming, because when you throw a party, you're always worried nobody's going to come. And so, you want somebody to actually turn up on time, and that'll be you. And then you can do your bit. And then if you start to feel a bit like your energy's waning as more and more people come, you've done your bit. Say goodbye to the host and ghost everyone else. Or you might find that you're actually comfortable and you can stay after all. It's probably, I think SUFO is better than my other approach, which is to turn up with a bottle of wine and immediately tell the host that I've got to leave at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock because I've got to work tomorrow, you know.
yeah.
But
So
then
let's
later I
say
find
bye.
I'm enjoying myself and I'm there.
Yeah, say bye to the host, and then don't say bye to anyone else, but just ghost.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Don't ghost
Yeah.
the host though.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay, well, so I love the fact you were so interested in NLP, and I know you've sort of been interested in it for quite a long time, haven't you? And we did this chat. It was over a year ago.
Mm.
And what do you think about NLP and introversion and how it might help? And what were your sort of takeaways from our chat? And thank you, by the way, for including me in the book. But I think NLP can be quite misunderstood, and that was one of the topics that we spoke about quite a bit. A lot of people think that neurolinguistic programming is sort of pseudoscience. And I sort of like to set out with that and biohacking to sort of change people's minds on it a little bit. It's not trying to claim it's anything it's not. It's not psychotherapy. Let's not pretend that it is, for example.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was pseudoscience, but I did know that it can often be used by like dodgier life coaches, by people who've got sales funnels, by people who just want to like fleece you of money. And in another life, I had a podcast called Spirit Levels, and we often went after dodgy life coaches. So maybe
Your
I think that
Spirit
might have
Levels
made.
was so good. Why did you stop that
Thank you.
podcast? That was brilliant.
Because I had to write this book. I got the advance to write the book, and I just couldn't keep both up at the same time. But thank you.
That
Yeah,
was
it
a
was looking at
great
more.
podcast.
Yeah, it was pressure testing the wellness industry from the pseudo to the
Yeah.
sensible. That was it. That was the tagline.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to reassure you that I didn't think you were a pickup artist, and I didn't think you were a dodgy life coach.
Yeah.
And I do definitely think there's a lot to be said for NLP. So I wanted to learn more about how it could help people with social anxiety who want to kind of plan their, not attack, that's the wrong word, but plan their entry into conversations more. So you were talking about things like associating, positive associations, which I thought was really interesting. And you gave the example of some elderly men who went to, I guess, kind of a retreat where the whole place had been decked out with things that were 20 years ago, like pictures and music and posters from 20 years earlier, maybe, to see if the men would start to associate with that and act younger and feel younger. And indeed they did, didn't they?
It's so fascinating that. And they spent, I think, a week or two completely surrounded by everything from their lives 15 years ago. So they showed them old films, they played them old music. The hotel was decorated like it was 15 years or 20 years earlier or whatever it was. And then they played all the games that they used to play, and they were all in their 70s and 80s. But then they did actual physiological tests on them afterwards. Firstly, they said, I feel way younger. But then they did sort of blood tests on them, and they found that all their sort of reports and their bloods were way younger than they were before they went in, which is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. It just goes to show the power of the mind. And so I think that's really useful. I talk a lot in the book about visualizing a situation before you go into it. So for instance, if I'm going to do some public speaking, I will try and visualize the audience beforehand looking really delighted, which is unlikely, really, because when you talk to an audience, well, it's unlikely because when you talk to an audience, they're not on anymore. Like, they have permission to switch off and just listen. So often their faces are just kind of blank, aren't they? They've just got their resting face on. But I like to visualize that they're really super engaged and laughing constantly, and I'm getting on really well with the facilitator. So I think that could possibly tie in with associating.
Yeah. It just occurred to me, actually, there's the issue with that is, I mean, it's a core NLP sort of belief that associating with how you want to be, with good memories and so on, can really help you. And in fact, there's loads of science to back this up now. They found that people who sort of think positively around aging, for example, which is really associating with the positive aspects of aging, they live 7 years longer than the people who on the complete other end of the scale sort of feel very negative about aging, which means that thinking positively about aging and one's health is a more important intervention than giving up smoking, giving up drinking, changing your cholesterol levels, changing your diet. All of those things don't work as well as changing your mindset, which is nuts, really. But the problem is that you've written a book about being an introvert, so you are you are associating very strongly with the introverted side of your personality. Maybe you
Oh
need to say,
God,
do
yeah.
you know what? Maybe I'm not as introverted as I think.
I was having this conversation with my brother. I said, I've been really anxious in the lead up to the book and then in the kind of the book tour month. More socially anxious than usual. And am I turning into one of my relatives? Am I aging into this
Yeah.
state of anxiety? And he's like, no, it's because you're talking about being socially anxious all the time. You've cherry picked and focused on that aspect of your life for this book. If you'd written a book about the time, I was a bodybuilder or something, it would be a very different experience of you going out there and representing yourself. So yeah, it is a fulfilling prophecy. Actually, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Where I do feel like I am normally maybe a more confident public speaker and podcast guest than I have been on this particular tour.
Yeah. And even when they come and see you, I know you've been making, as I've been watching all your social over the last month or so, and you've been sort of saying, this is a nightmare. I'm an introvert. I've written a book about being an introvert, and I'm having to go out and do all this extrovert stuff to promote it. But I guess they'd almost
Yeah.
be a bit disappointed if they turn up and say, "Wow, she's great. She's loving life."
Yeah, it's a hard one because you do get people who, promote themselves as confidence experts, confidence coaches, and say that I used to be very unconfident. Look at me now, kind of thing. You tend to be American. It's quite, the English don't quite do that as much. And I think, yeah, okay, that is very appealing. Someone's very confident, but also it's not that relatable, So you're trying to be yourself and authentic at the same time as wanting to provide that positive association to people. So it is a conundrum. Well spotted.
Yeah. The irony is that I bet your book is really like it because it's fun, your book, and it's definitely light in places as well. And actually, you clearly are going to be really helping a lot of people who are introverted. The irony is that if you want it, you've got a whole new coaching career in the making now, and you might be appearing on your own Spirit Levels podcast, because I bet people want to work one-on-one with you now as well, don't they?
It's probably too early to say, but I do one-to-one sort of coaching with writers, and I find it really, really rewarding. I just make sure that I'm really upfront about my pricing and don't lock people into some weird scheme or charge them angel number figures or something.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
doable.
exactly. Yeah. So the
But I think
NLP
also
stuff,
you're
I'm really glad that you put NLP in, and thanks for doing that anyway. And it's nice to see NLP getting a slightly more positive rap. And I think that
yeah.
stuff around sort of association, it's occurred to me that I follow someone, for example, who posts around chronic illness, and her account is really good and it really helps people. It's on a type of sort of chronic fatigue, really. But it really does become a self-fulfilling prophecy because she's just
Yeah.
posting around it all the time. And in fact, even the title of her Instagram, references this particular condition, which I won't say what it is. And
Yeah.
there's another guy that we follow called Aubrey Marcus. I don't know if you've heard of Aubrey Marcus.
Yep.
Have you heard of him? Yeah.
I
And
have.
he has always posted about these sort of huge life sort of traumas and events that happen in his life. And that, again, seems to be self-fulfilling. The more that he posts about it, the more they seem to happen.
Yeah, it's pigeonholing yourself, isn't it? One other thing that you talked about in the chapter that I really liked was you were talking about modeling, and you were talking about how it's a bit like the old thing, what would X do? And you gave the example of you find inspiration in Rick Rubin, the record producer and podcaster, just specific things that you would take that could work for you. And there's a whole chapter where I look at the idea of having kind of a power animal or a what would X do person. And I gave the example of my partner, who's this real outgoing extrovert he's a bringer in of people. He loves people. He sees new people and he's like, new friends. Whereas I'm like, danger. And so I use him as an example. Things that I could take from him. He doesn't sweat a faux pas ever. I mean, I hear him make the odd kind of whoa comment at a party, and he's forgotten about it a second later, like a goldfish. Whereas, I mean, he convinced people we were swingers at one party, and afterwards had no idea how he'd done that. And I had to do a lot of cleaning up after that. But he also, he just, what does he do? Hang on. Oh yeah, he kind of gives like drive-by compliments or comments to people. So we go into a party, and I might sort of hide behind my glass and use it as a sort of barrier. But he'll just he'll have his ears open all the time, and he might walk past a group of people on his way to the bar and hear something, and he'll just like drop a drive-by comment in there to see if it lands, and if it does, so you've got an opening.
That is brilliant.
Yeah, always cheeky. You've always got to do it with the humor and a bit of cheek.
Yeah. The thing about modeling that you got to emphasize is that, because it's a very helpful technique, and I still do a little bit of NLP coaching, partly because I like to sort of keep my hand in and make sure that I'm still remembering the skills, even though it's not my sort of day-to-day gig. But and I've got a session with someone today after this actually, and he runs quite a big business, and he won't mind me saying this, he's quite enjoyed modeling the guy who ran Disney for the last 20 years and has come back, Bob Iger. And Bob Iger wrote a brilliant book about the whole experience of running Disney as well. And the point to emphasize all the time is, when you're modeling somebody, you can study every aspect of their personality, and you can start off with the really basic stuff like the behavior and the environment. But the stuff that really helps is studying their values and their beliefs and how they think about themselves. But you don't want to be copying them. You don't want to replicate every aspect of their personality. If you walked into a party and you started pretending to be Frank, that'd be weird. But if you model little aspects of his personality, you cherry pick the bits that might help, then you can start to apply that with your own style, and that's okay. Just don't go copying someone that you're modeling, because that's going to be weird.
100%. And I couldn't pull off the whole of Frank, as it were. So it wouldn't work anyway.
Yeah. So it seems like the book's going very well. You've had a massive list of events that you've done over the last month or so. How is your social battery? How are your energy levels now after all of that?
Yeah, I'm quite close to kaput. Also, something that happens with me before events, even though I take beta blockers, which are really good, they block your adrenaline, so they make it so much easier in terms of managing nervous symptoms. I still, in the lead up on the day of an event, start to get kind of psychosomatic symptoms. So the idea, the kind of the feeling that you're kind of looking down the wrong end of a telescope, or you feel like your guts are churning, or I've got a headache, and to the point that sometimes I wonder if I'm ill, but I should know by now. It always happens on the day, and as soon as you step on stage, gone, and full of energy.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
And that do you know what? I actually do get very nervous before events, and people always say, "But you're brilliant at events." And I've been doing.
Because I've just thrown up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've sort of been doing presenting type work for 30 years. You'd have thought I would be more relaxed, but when I was a TV presenter, it did take about 4 years to be actually relaxed enough to enjoy it. And at the first year, I used to go home and my whole body would ache, because I was sort of arranging. I was so tense and arranging myself in the right position that I couldn't actually relax.
But your jaw was just like, ugh.
Yeah. But it's interesting that you mentioned beta blockers, because I sort of feel like that's not really biohacking approved supplements, is it? I mean, we tend to talk about things like, light, sleep and food and stress, but clearly that is something you really need. And I wonder if there's anything else in terms of a sort of a biohacking thing that you do that helps with that, because I know you're quite into the whole biohacking stuff as well.
Yeah, there's something I tried, but it didn't really work. But other studies have shown it to work, which is oxytocin spray. So you can buy that. Yeah, you spray it up your nose.
What? So I've never even heard of this.
So a dodgy version came out years ago, maybe 15 years ago, called Liquid Trust, and it purported to make people.
Oh God, that sounds horrible.
I know. It purported to make people trust you immediately. So, obviously the inference was that the implication was that you could use it to pick up girls, I think.
Right.
But anyway, more recently, you can get oxytocin spray from the kind of places where you can get peptides and things like that. And it has been used in studies, including with people with anorexia, to increase their natural oxytocin levels and increase their sense of bonding and community. And so I thought, oh, great. Well, this would be a shortcut for me. Every time I go out to meet friends, I just spray this up my nose. And I'll just really, really want to chat to them and stick around for longer. I haven't noticed any difference whatsoever. My partner was saying, I can't believe you spent $250 on that. You could have just got some cocaine. But yeah, I don't think either of them work particularly well. You got to do the work.
Did you feel any different when you sprayed it?
No, and it was supposedly, legit, like it's from a legit-ish site, about as legit as you could get, anyway.
Yeah. Have you tried anything like GABA or anything like that?
Okay, so GABA is that neurotransmitter which helps you relax.
Yes, and we've got it naturally occurring.
Right, I didn't know you could take a supplement.
Yeah, you can, and I do, and I find it very helpful. But I've actually especially found it helpful at night. So I started. Full disclosure, this podcast is sponsored by a company that makes Sleep Breakthrough, and one of the components of Sleep Breakthrough is GABA. And when they used to send me pots of it, and I just used to give it to my wife because I didn't think I liked it. And then after a while, I tried it one night, and I slept so well that and I realized it's because of the GABA in it. But the GABA also, you can buy GABA. You can buy a product called Pharma GABA, which is just it's actually naturally occurring stuff, but you can supplement your levels if they're very low. And I guess a lot of people who suffer from various types of anxiety would be. But it says on the pot you can take it during the day as well. You see, so I'm quite interested to try it. I don't. I only take it at night. But that might be quite an interesting one just to try and see if it works.
Yeah, definitely. Because I talk in the book about Dutch courage, and then when you drink too much, you get anxiety. And when we get anxiety, there's a few things going on, but one of them is while we were drinking, our GABA levels were increasing. Professor David Nutt has talked about this, if anyone wants to read more about this, but they increase. So we're feeling super relaxed. But then the next day, the body's always trying to rebalance, and it sort of overcompensates, and we have not enough GABA, and we also have too much of something else that makes cortisol, maybe too much of something else that makes us super nervy at the same time. So we've got this dual thing going on. So yes, GABA would be great if you've got a hangover.
Yeah. And then the other one, it just made me think of it. We had a barbecue here at the weekend for Glastonbury. And as this is going out, because this is a special, it might have been a little bit in the past, but I have this product that you spray into people's mouths. It's not liquid. What is it? Liquid.
Consensually.
Yeah, consensually. Yeah.
Liquid trust.
And
liquid trust.
Liquid trust. It's not liquid, guys. Just got a little bit of liquid trust for you. And I bought this at a biohacking conference in Lisbon a couple of months ago, and it's called Chilicagua. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, so I might not even be saying it right. Chilicagua. Oh, I'm probably butchering it anyway. Anyway, it's an Aztec golden root, and it's supposed to have amazing healing properties. And you spray it under the tongue. But actually, I bought it because I just knew when I was going to have a party, it'd be really fun because it is an extraordinary sensory experience in the mouth. And I've actually just got the website up to chilquagwe.com. The extraordinary
sensory
sensory
that's a great talking
effect.
point.
Yeah, really good. Exactly. So it's perfect social anxiety smoother because it offers an unparalleled sensory experience, a party in the mouth, invigorating tingling and buzzing sensation. High frequency tingle is often described as having a party in the mouth, providing a refreshing and stimulating effect. But then you salivate a lot more, and then you get this sort of physical reaction, and it changes over about 5 minutes. It's absolutely nuts, this. So it's really quite fun.
Everyone's dribbling.
Everyone wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Oh,
sort of
you're on the
like,
same boat.
what happens is you spray it in the mouth and then it feels a bit numb and you're like, oh, that's nice. And then the first time you do it, you're like, oh, maybe that's not nice. I didn't expect that. But then it ends up being quite fun. So we all
But
did it
what's it
on
actually
Saturday. It was
supposed
good.
to? It's turned out to be a great icebreaker. But what's it actually supposed to do?
I'm glad you asked that question, because people asked me that question and I didn't know how to answer it on Saturday night. So then I had to look it up. But first, it's a sensory stimulant, but it's also a potent therapeutic agent. It's supposed to make you feel better in your body, so enhance bodily comfort. But then it's also supposed to stimulate the nervous system to improve energy levels and mental clarity. But it's also supposed to be really good for inflammation, or when you're sort of running a little bit low as well, or when you're feeling a little bit under the weather. So all of those
All of
things
that
from this
it
golden
sounds like
route.
nicotine. It sounds like nicotine. I mean, very
Yeah.
similar in a way. The
Yeah.
buzzword of the day.
Do you take nicotine? Because a lot of the biohackers like doing that as well. I never really do, but I have tried it in the past and felt absolutely off my tits.
Yeah, I've been considering it because having been a smoker of yore, um,
Mm,
it's really hard to. Happily in Australia, hardly anyone smokes, but it's really
mm,
hard if you've had a few drinks and you smell cigarettes, even years and years and years and years and years on, not to like your
mm.
brain not to go click. And so occasionally, I'll have a drag of someone's roll up. Never a custom. Sorry, a tailor made, but
Yeah. Yeah.
custom. um,
Custom.
so yeah, I mean, it makes me think maybe you should just get a pouch or something. But then it feels like
Yeah.
giving in if I do that. I feel like it's better just not to buy anything and just harass other people.
But also what you were saying about, that social act of going outside at the party. Obviously, the act of
Yes.
smoking was so wrapped up with a feeling, which is a classic NLP anchor, by the way. It was so wrapped up with a feeling of feeling safe or calm or whatever it was. And it
Ah.
probably wasn't just the nicotine. So you need to go outside and do something else, puff on a vape or something, but then you don't really want to do that
Well, no,
either.
it's not better. But no, that's really
No,
interesting about it being
they're
an
worse
anchor.
than
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
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 Whole other conversation.
Well, Jenny, I'm absolutely loving talking to you. But we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming on. I need you to let your social battery go and recover after this
Thank you.
social interaction for 40 minutes. Where can people find out more about you and the book?
I tend to just use Instagram really. So Jenny Valentish _public. Don't get excited. There's nothing going on in the private one. Um, and and the book's available online at any normal online retailer. Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I really do highly recommend it. And can you start your podcast again? Because it was
Yeah, I might
very, you
do.
really put a lot of effort into it, didn't you? It was highly produced and really good.
Yeah, highly produced considering it was coming out every week. I don't know whose stupid idea that was. Oh, mine. But it's still up there if anyone wants to listen to Spirit Levels.
It's very, very good. All right, Jenny, thank you for coming on. Really lovely to chat.
Loved it. Thanks, Tony.